It was 6:30 in the morning when I walked down the Pikes Creek Pier to Greg and Kim's Necessity, a SeaRay Fly 400 motorcruiser. Greg, Michelle, Bob, and I hope to make good use of a short period of calm seas to make a fast passage to Duluth. An hour later, we fired up the engines and cast off.
Michelle, either pull it up or throw it to joint. We got to get that line out of there.
You know how long a bow line is supposed to be?
Yeah.
1 foot less of reaching the props. That's how long.
Good. That's a good measure.
Yes.
Thanks, Michelle. And I was worried about that thrust if you're pulling a line too, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So I'm going to get out there a couple hundred yards and then try to engage the engine.
Yeah, let's just get people off the front.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll just wait until she's back in the cockpit.
All right, let's get out there.
Ready?
Yep. I don't know if Jeff consulted with you, but he recommended not doing the sand inlet, sand cut, because the lake is 2 feet down.
2 feet. I didn't know that. Had you heard that? No?
I have the
We can go around sand. It might be a foot down from what it was
last time I looked, it was a foot down.
It takes a great deal of water to bring down Lake Superior's level by a foot. It is the world's largest lake by surface area, about the same size as Austria.
This is nice.
Yeah, it's a good system, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the same up top too. So.
Yeah.
We needed to make a fast passage because while it was a sunny and pleasant morning, the weather forecast wasn't favorable. It called for a major increase in wind speed.
And now your local forecast. Today, sunny. Highs 87 to 93. Southwest wind 10 to 20 miles per hour with gusts to around 30 miles per hour. Tonight, partly cloudy. Low 63 to 68. Southwest wind 5 to 15 miles per hour with gusts to around 30 miles per hour.
The two huge Cummins turbo diesels soon had us well past the charming harbor town of Bayfield. We were running well in nearly flat seas and soon passed Schooner Bay, where Greg once kept his Pearson 365 catch this summer wind. At Red Cliff Point, we turned northwest of the buoy and into the broad lighthouse channel. The systems on the boat were running as they should, and we transferred the controls to the helm on the fly bridge.
There's one shoal out there, but I don't know if we really have to worry about this one or not. You know that one?
Yeah, there's a marker thing.
Much better view from up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bright white lighthouse on Raspberry Island, one of our favorites in the Apostle Islands, was quickly left in our wake. We now headed towards York Island, and then out of the islands towards the open lake, running steadily on Necessity's autopilot. After rounding the northern tip of Sand Island and turning southwest, we input our waypoint at the approach to the Superior entry, and then let the automation take over the navigation. It was all very effortless, but we kept, of course, a sharp lookout. The miles were rapidly clicked off while we all enjoyed a beautiful and relaxing morning out on Lake Superior.
We are running about 33 miles an hour towards Duluth there in fairly calm seas. We are expecting the whole passage to last us about 3 hours. We are going to be in, my guess, and GPS's guess is around 11 at Superior entry, which is just fine because the weather is going to change at 1, and they're going to get very heavy gusts and small craft warnings. So it's great to be out of Lake Superior again, great to make a fast passage for a change.
There was very little boat traffic, and we didn't catch up to any freighters. The autopilot kept us on our track. Past Port Wing at 10 o'clock. The 80-mile run between Bayfield and Superior Duluth is one that I normally do a couple of times during the summer, but usually in sailboats. When sailing, we sometimes do it in a single day, but often break the passage up in 2 days, either going into Cornucopia or anchoring at Sand Island along the way. And there certainly wasn't any reason to do that on this particular day. With necessity's speed, we were easily able to make our distance in the small weather window we had available. On Lake Superior, the weather is something to be acutely aware of. It can change very quickly, and it must have been extremely difficult to accurately predict it before the development of satellites, radar, and other modern weather forecasting tools. And it's estimated that about 550 of the Great Lakes 6,000 plus shipwrecks are on Lake Superior.
Should I blow that up?
Sure.
We gradually slowed down when we got closer to our waypoint at the approach to the familiar Superior entry. It was time for Greg to disengage the autopilot and hand steer us in from then on. We had chosen the Superior entry over the Duluth entry more out of habit than out of practicality. We know the Superior entry well, with its dual sets of concrete breakwaters and wide fairway. It's a super easy way to get into the 7-mile long and narrow Superior Bay. It's also the natural outflow of 2 rivers, the St. Louis and the Mudgee.
So we used to, when I lived here, once in a while we'd come anchoring here.
Superior Bay is actually the extreme western end of the St. Lawrence Seaway and supports one of the busiest commercial harbors in the U.S. A large part of the cargoes consist of iron ore and grain, and the docks and freighters are absolutely huge. To make the shallow bay usable for the ships, both Lakers and Salties, there's usually some dredging going on someplace to keep the channels free of silting. It's something to watch out for. You might say the Superior Bay is more like a lagoon than a bay. It certainly is a well-sheltered inlet behind the sandbar, which over countless years developed into 2 substantial sand spits. Today, the largest of the sand spits, which is called the Minnesota Point, has houses, hotels, harbors, businesses, and even a busy general aviation airport near Sky Harbor. A second ship channel, which provides access from the lake to the bay, is at Duluth. It's artificial. It was constructed in 1871. The city of Superior had strongly objected to digging the Duluth entry, predicting it would reduce the use of its commercial harbor. The canal did shift some traffic, but today there are large port facilities in both Superior and Duluth. For the recreational boaters, both sail and power, Superior Bay is a large and popular playground. It's a fun place, and you will find that the Minnesota Point, also called Park Point, provides a great deal of shelter in the bay during most weather conditions. It would actually have been much quicker for us to get to our destination if we had gone through the Duluth Channel rather than the Superior entry. Greg and Kim have their slip at the Sand Point Yacht Club, which is much closer to the Duluth entry. The only downside to choosing the canal would have been that we would have had to time our arrival more precisely, which really wouldn't have been a big deal. The reason for the timing is that there's a large lift bridge across the canal, which must be raised for necessity to safely pass under it, and the bridge only opens for recreational traffic at the top and at the bottom of the hour. The minutes can sometimes feel like hours when you're sailing in lazy circles on the outside, waiting for your turn. When we passed the other bridge, the Bladnick Bridge with its 120-foot vertical clearance, the colors on the buoys reversed. That change can be an unpleasant surprise if you're unfamiliar with the bay. The reason the color switch is that from here on, you are headed out towards the Duluth Channel, and therefore back out towards the open lake and ultimately in the direction of the ocean. We were now looking for the entrance of the Sand Point Yacht Club, which is a bit tricky to spot along the shore. When we were just outside it, Michelle readied the dock lines and fenders, and we headed into the narrow and shallow channel. It's notorious for silting in and needs to be cleaned out every year. The large sand dune you see to our port is a dredgings from the channel. It's definitely not a small amount. Getting in is easy enough if you just go slow with caution and stay tight within the channel marks. But it's best done in a motorboat and not in a deep draft sailboat. Fortunately, the bottom is all sand, and if you happen to stray out of the channel and touch bottom, the thing that's most likely to get hurt will be the pride. Regardless, we were happy that the high winds had not yet arrived. With its flybridge, Necessity is a tall boat with windage, and it wouldn't have been fun to be buffeted by strong winds while going slow in the narrow channel. Greg was expertly bringing us into the basin, gently using the bow thruster. I like thrusters. They're always very handy in a harbor. Our morning run from the Apostle Islands was nearly done. We had just to tie up the boat and then do a few finishing chores. As expected, we had made a very fast passage of Necessity's top speed from Pikes Bay to the Superior entry in just 3 hours, and then spent an hour going slow, meaning about 6 to 7 knots, through the bay from the Superior entry to the St. Paul Yacht Club. It had been another fine day on Lake Superior, and it was also great fun to see what Necessity is capable of.